As I feared, this is one of those part one films that just does not work as a standalone self-contained experience. This film has so many characters just spread across this whole thing, across like three completely different storylines. And you'd think that with a 3 hour long runtime, that would be plenty of time to give all the characters enough attention, develop them, flesh them out. But it just isn't. None of the characters really get enough time to shine, and because of the sheer volume of them, it's really hard to really zone in and concentrate on any one character to put all your investment and time into. And it doesn't help that they're spread across three completely separate storylines that have nothing really to do with each other. You've got the storyline with the Apache massacre and the fallout from that, with Sienna Miller and her daughter adjusting to life at that army camp, and Sam Worthington is the lieutenant at that place. You got Kevin Costner's storyline where he's traveling with this woman and this kid who are being hunted by this gang. And then you have a storyline with the convoy of wagons and people who are going to the Horizon Promised Land, and there's some strange goings on there which don't mean anything to anything. And that's the thing, there's just so many scenes in this film, so many moments that happen, and you're just like, why did that happen? What was the purpose of that scene? For example, in that convoy storyline, there's this British couple who at first are not helping out with the work and they get confronted about it, and then later on the woman is showering outside with the drinking water, and the two cattle wranglers are spying on her. She sees them, she freaks out, and then the cattle wranglers get confronted by the leader of the convoy, and then they just move on. Why was that there? Why was that in the film? What purpose did that serve to the characters, the overall storyline, anything? Why was it there? It might become relevant in part two, but we're not watching part two, we're watching part one. As I was watching the film, the storyline that I was the most interested in was probably the Kevin Costner storyline, because that felt the grittiest of the storylines, because the one with Sienna Miller and the daughter trying to, recover from the Apache massacre, it just felt like I was watching a production, and Sienna Miller and the daughter felt like they were acting in a film, so I didn't really entirely care for that subplot. Whereas Kevin Costner's storyline had a little bit more grit to it, and I was kind of interested in it, until it has the most underwhelming, anticlimactic ending ever. What was the point? What was the point of that entire storyline if that's how it ended? It made all the scenes with Kevin Costner in it feel like a complete waste of time. Horizon Chapter 1 is not a terrible film by any means. It's respectably crafted and it's finely acted by Kevin Costner, Sam Worthington and a few others. Easily the standout of the acting, Jamie Campbell Bower. He plays this unhinged, just deranged man, and he was awesome when he was on screen. But even with that, he and the character were completely wasted because of the sheer volume of characters. He has nowhere near enough screen time, and just the character himself and how they used him in the story, totally wasted, with so much potential, flushed down the toilet, and it irritated me with what they did with him story-wise. If I was to summarise this film in 2 words, it would be unfulfilling and frustrating, again, because of the original point of how it's a part 1 film that just does not stand on its own as a single film. It's not like Dune Part 1 or It Chapter 1, where it had a beginning, middle and end, and you could watch it and appreciate it as one film that just happens to be part of one bigger story. This is clearly one half of a film, or maybe even 1/4 of a film, if they actually get to make all 4 of the films. The film is so long and drawn out, and it just meanders from character to character, from place to place, and the characters and what they're doing in the film, it's just not nearly as interesting enough to support the scope and scale and runtime of this film, and it just did not invest me in anything that was going on. And once the film ended, I felt no overwhelming desire to see Chapter 2, which is a massive bummer because I love westerns, and Kevin Costner is clearly trying to throw back to the grand sweeping westerns of the classic Hollywood era. But in planning these films out and writing them and filming them, releasing them in chapters and parts, it's clear that Kevin Costner put the cart before the horse in a lot of aspects, no pun intended. And as a result, Horizon Chapter 1 unfortunately was a bit of a snooze.